Okay. So, experimental design. First, we have to pick the treatment. We have to identify the factors and levels of the treatment, and then we have to have a control group. You guys, it's kind of important if you're using certain subjects. If you're using subjects and not necessarily like objects. You're going to assign the experimental units to treatments. So, you guys, I need you to know that when you assign them, how are you going to assign the units to the treatments? This is where usually it's going to be a simple random sample, but there's two ways. You're either going to randomly assign. So assigning to an experimental design is a little different than our samples, okay? Our sample has already been picked. What we're going to do, so we've already picked our sample, so now how are we going to put our sample into these? We're either going to randomly assign, usually we're going to randomly assign, sometimes we might do a couple other things. And so we've got matching or we got randomization, okay? So matching could be where we put old people, yeah, I'm calling there. Old people in one group and young people in the other group, okay? Yeah, I went there. And you could say, well, what considers old? Okay, like I just came up with that. And so you have to decide, well, what do you consider old? My mom considers anybody old who is older than her at the current moment. So my mom is 75 years old. So she refers to people, I am not kidding. My aunt who is 80 and her were talking, and my aunt says, those old biddies. I said, did you just call someone old biddies? Yes, because they're older than us. So my mom considers anybody old who is older than her current age. That's really funny. Okay, so I consider anybody younger. 30 is young, right? After 30, you're in my age group now a little bit. So, okay, so you're matching. Randomization, you don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter age group, it doesn't matter gender, okay? Matching might matter with gender. Okay. Okay, so this is really important. I know that's already written for you, but you guys, there's a reason that we harp on that, because so many times we see an association and we think, oh, there's a causation, but it doesn't. Okay, so if an experiment is well designed and a strong association in the data does imply causation, since any possible lurking variables are control. You guys, if you have designed this experiment well, if it is a well thought out design, you have collected your data, you really have done a good job, then yes, you do have a cause and effect relationship, but that's only if it's well designed. Okay. Did you guys get that? You guys got that, right? Like, I'm just playing with your minds at home, you guys. Okay. Principles of design. You have a cause and effect relationship. You don't even have to write this down. My goodness, who designed this PowerPoint? This PowerPoint sucks. Okay, so principles of experimental design, we talked about it. Controlling those effects of those lurking variables or confounding variables. You guys, those two definitions, you need to look those two definitions up, lurking variables and confounding, like you need to know those words. You need to use a randomization to assign subject or units to treatments. You guys, you're not always, well, once you decide if it's a match pairs or if it's completely randomized, you're going to pick how you put the units in, the individuals into the design. And then you're going to replicate the experiment on many subjects units to reduce the chance of variation. You guys, you're not just going to run one test and say, good, we got my cause and effect. You have to do more than one experiment. my brother, he did a lot of experiments on me to see how much torture I could take as being his little sister. I think I held up pretty well considering that I am still alive and I'm here to teach. So, but there you go. Note, an effect is called statistically significant if it is too great to be caused simply by chance. That means, you guys, it keeps happening over and over again. And you're like, oh, this keeps happening. That means it's statistically significant, that you need to look at that. And you guys, the aspirin thing, the experiment I was talking to you about, that was supposed to, there's a video on it, but it was supposed to be like a 10-year trial. It was supposed to be a 10-year experiment. And after 3 years, the data came back, and it was so statistically significant that they just stopped it. They're like, we got plenty of data to support our outcome. So sometimes things happen, and they have a lot of data, and then they start looking at it. So it's good like that. Okay, boom. We're on number 13 now. That was a good segue, and I didn't even mean to make that a segue. Even a well-designed experiment can contain hidden bias, so it's extremely important to handle the subject units in exactly the same way. I always wanted my brother's best friend to be my brother because he was so much nicer to me than my brother. Not that my brother was mean to me. Yes, he was mean to me. But his best friend always felt bad for me until I kicked his best friend in the shin, and then then he's like, oh, I don't want your little sister. So anyways, you have to handle, like my brother treated me very badly, and so I did mean things to my brother because he treated me mean. You guys don't have that problem, right? You and your siblings get along so well, and that you smile and you never fight, right? That's how you get along with your. Yeah, that was not me and my brother. If my brother and I could hit each other with something, we surely did. So his best friend, he's like, your sister's so adorable. She's so sweet, because I would do everything for him because he was so nice to me. And one day, I don't know what he did, but he did something, and it just reminded me of my brother, and I kicked him. He's like, ooh, your sister's not nice. He goes, I told you. Well, he was nice to me again. I was nice to him, but hidden bias. So you have to handle the subjects in the same way. Like my brother could never understand why all of his friends liked me. Well, first of all, they were your friends, and I wanted dirt on you because I was the younger sister. And I was nice to them. Wasn't nice to you. You were mean to me. My brother used to throw pennies when I would go to bed into my room. Like flick them into my room. And then, okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to avoid hidden bias, we're going to conduct a double-blind experiment. So double-blind means the person that's giving the treatment doesn't know who's giving the doesn't know which treatment the subject is getting or the object is giving. So they just know that they're getting some type of treatment, but they don't know. Okay, does anybody watch Grey's Anatomy? Okay, have you finished it? Like we're on season, like Zola was a baby. Zolo, is her name Zolo? Zola was a baby. They just adopted her. Are you past that point? Okay, e-learners, if you don't want this spoiler alert, then you should probably pause and fast forward just a little bit. Okay, the reason double blind is important, because in Grey's Anatomy, if you watch it, there's a chief and his wife has Alzheimer's. Meredith and Derek, they are the main couple in the show. The show is based on Meredith. She is married to Derek. And Derek is doing trials for Alzheimer's. But you have to score a certain level on this test to become part of the treatment, to get that treatment. Well, what happened is Chief's wife did not qualify, but they knew she had Alzheimer's. So Meredith knew this. She knew which was the chief's patient, the chief's wife, and she switched the records. The reason that was such a big deal is because Meredith played around and she knew. So what happens is it invalidates all of the other tests. So the trial, I believe the trial ended, right? So they got in huge trouble. So they did follow that. They did that correctly. So they got in a lot of trouble because she messed with the results. So it became an invalid study. So double blind is really important. Like, no one should have known the chief's wife was trying to be a part of that trial, because once that happened, they really wanted her in it. They wanted to save her, and so that really hindered those results. Okay, so double blind. That means that no one knows which subject's getting which treatment. Okay, take this off. Okay, so now there's 3 types of experimental designs. Okay, so you don't really need that. The first one is where we completely randomize the design. It means that, you guys, we don't care who gets which treatment, because it doesn't matter. We just want to test it on everyone. Sometimes these results are really good because we start noticing different things, but you could do a completely randomized design. Good? Okay. The next one is a block design. So block design kind of looks like a match pairs, and we'll talk about a block design is where you're going to split them into groups. So maybe you split them into male, female. You split them into, what's the other one? Male, female. You might split them into age groups. Okay. Like education. So if you want to do an experiment, but you're not really sure, so you do it by education. So maybe through high school, then 4 years of college, then maybe you got your master's, and then maybe you got your PhD. And in between, there's a specialist degree also. One of the biggest ones that I see in block design is age group and gender. So, believe it or not, the drug Viagra, yes, I can talk about this. They tested it on men and women. Did you know that? They tested it on men and women. And women, they wanted to see what it would do. Well, in women, it had a whole totally different effect. It actually helps women grow hair. So if women, yep, isn't this cool? That it's not something that's broadcast a lot, because women, what do you take for your hair growth? But Viagra actually helps women grow hair. I learned that. I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. So they did an experiment like this, and they tested it. So there you go. And the last one is match pairs. Match pairs, when you do this, you guys, match pairs is, most of the time you see this is like a pre and post test. Also, match pairs might be where everyone in the room, you sit here and you do work, and the first week we don't listen to music. The second week I let you listen to music. That is match pairs. So, that's 128. So those are our experiments, and then tomorrow we're going to do more with this, okay? We are going to take a quiz on Monday over designing samples. It will be online. It's a short quiz. So thank you guys, and have a great day.